Sure it's working. There we go. Hello. We are. We're alone. Let's kiss. Hello. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hi. I'm not used to this.
Somebody says, "Welcome home."
Thank you. It's good to be home or in our apartment for now until we get home.
So, wanted to get on and give an update. Trisha was feeling good enough to jump on with me. That's Deb. Said beautiful friend. Oh, that's right. You can't read this, can you?
I can squint.
Yeah.
Hey, Deb.
So Trisha's our eyesight's still a little shaky with all the drugs she's on. So we're looking at the screen here, and I don't know if I can make it bigger, but so yeah, you got home about, I don't even remember how long ago it was. What time was it yesterday?
I don't know.
In the afternoon.
Mm.
So that's good. Been taking it easy. And I forgot this morning how many medications and different things are involved right after transplant. So there was a lot to do this morning when she woke up.
Hey, Boston and Ashley and Grace. Yeah, our whole morning was filled with routines of medications and taking my blood pressure, temperature, a spirometry to check my PFTs each and every day to make sure they're going up. What else? Try to eat some food, but my stomach's not cooperating right now. And get a real good wash down without having a shower or having it touch any of my stitches. So that was nice.
Don and Ann are watching.
Who?
Don, Dr. Don.
Oh, hi, Don. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. I'm looking forward to going back to rehab on Tuesday. I think everybody's off for Monday for the holiday.
Yeah, it actually worked out really well for her to get discharged yesterday because it's a 3-day weekend. So I was worried they wouldn't discharge her till Tuesday, even if she was ready to go. But they decided on Friday. Dr. Reynolds talked with you on Friday, and they decided to try to get her out on Saturday, which normally they don't do. So we were very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets an extra day of rest tomorrow because the rehab facility's closed, with most other places for Memorial Day. And then she'll go to rehab on Tuesday. And then Wednesday she'll be at clinic. So she probably won't get to rehab. So,
Hey, Laura.
So she'll actually only have like 3 days of rehab this week, which is good. It kind of ease into it a little bit. Because really, all you were doing in the hospital was walking laps, and then I know you had some TheraBand stuff you were doing.
But I was tethered to the bed by all my chest tubes, so I couldn't really do too much. It's once all your chest tubes are taken out and the JP tubes that you can finally get up and move and feel free and do more of a intense workout that they'll allow you to do at pulmonary rehab. And I definitely lost all of my muscle that I gained before my transplant. And some of you might know that I talked about gaining a lot of weight in water weight. I had edema pretty badly, so I gained about 25, 30 pounds in water weight, which I lost all of it before coming home. But now that I see my legs and my arms without all that water, I can see my muscles atrophied. So they definitely need to get working out to get back to where they were. So that's a big goal of mine. And it'll help my lungs in the long run too. Help them get to the PFTs raise quicker. The better I do with building muscle.
So really, the only thing you can't do right now is, like, if you sit down on the floor, I got to help you up, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do pretty much everything else on your own if you needed to.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is impressive. I think the first 2 transplants, you were so much weaker because you were so weak going in. It took you a lot longer to get to where you're at today. So that's good. We're excited about that. That'll mean hopefully a good, strong, quick recovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm definitely inspired by my kids to get home quicker. So they'll want to work to be able to get home to be with my family. And hopefully we can maybe see the kids in the next couple of weeks sooner than later. We asked for the doctor's advice on when I could see them and with the COVID and everything else, what kind of precautions to take. And they just said, pretty much you've already lived your life taking these precautions all along. It's everybody else around you that needs to get used to wearing a mask and being careful around crowds. So that gave me the headway to go ahead and have them come visit as soon as they're able. So I'm really excited about that. We miss them a lot.
Yeah, they finished school this past week, so they have no obligations. Hunter's trying to get a job. He's filling out his first application this weekend, so we're excited for him for that.
Ask any questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to post while we're talking. Is it warm? You can turn the fan on. So yeah, Trisha keeps complaining that it's warm, which I think it's her steroids and medications and stuff.
It is. Steroids always make me a little hot and sweaty. But one issue, if you guys don't mind praying for, is my stomach. I've had some stomach issues, and they haven't quite resolved. So I had some delayed gastric emptying when I was in the hospital, and now I don't have much of an appetite, and every time I eat, I have pain or reflux, and I'm not sure what that's related to, but I got up with my GI doctor today, and I hope that I'll hear back from him to see what can be done to help with those problems, because I do need to gain weight again in order to gain back my muscle. So I'm hoping those issues can be resolved. It's been a little frustrating, but I'm not in a weight zone that's dangerous, but I don't want to get to that point where I have to go to the hospital.
So she still has a feeding tube, so we can try to keep the weight on that way. And we don't know yet how much weight she gained or lost over the past 3.5 weeks, because she gained so much immediately from just fluids and has lost most of that. So we're not sure where she'll end up settling. But right now she's about where she was when she went into the hospital. So hopefully that's a good thing. Yeah, there's a couple questions.
Megan asked if this is the shortest hospital stay I've had after transplant, and I think it's the longest.
I think it is. I'll have to go back and look at the second. I know the first one was right around 3 weeks, so this is longer than that. The second one, I think,
it was around 2 weeks.
Was short. Was like 2 weeks. So yeah, I think this is the longest post-surgery in the hospital she's had.
And with each transplant that you have comes more risks, as those who have CF and transplant may be aware of. So with this surgery, I had things happen to me that I didn't have happen to me with my other transplants. So my blood pressure was a big issue. It kept plummeting, and I never had issues with a low blood pressure. So that kept me from walking for a couple of days, because it would just plummet, and I felt dizzy and like was about to pass out. And then the edema, I've had edema in the past, but never to this extent. So that made getting up and moving really, really hard and uncomfortable. And it just took a longer recovery time. A lot more fluid was held on my lungs as a result. So that's why the tubes actually took longer to get out this time around. And that was kind of the main holdup, was just waiting for those chest tubes to dry so that I could get going. And it took 25 days for them to dry up. So yeah, this was actually the longest, but we'll have to look back, Megan, at the other two. I think it was between 2 and 3 weeks.
Yeah, and they pulled her last chest tube yesterday morning, like 10, 11 o'clock. And then when I got there, she still had an IV in her arm. So that was the last thing they did before they let her go. So even up till Saturday morning, she was connected to something, which made mobility just difficult. So really Saturday at 10, 11, noon was the first time you were not connected to anything.
It's also good. And then it was really, it's neat to, going into transplant, I was followed by infectious disease for all the different bugs that I've carried in the past and that they were concerned about that could occur in my new lungs. And so they knew that my new lungs had a staph or MRSA infection, I believe, but they kept an eye for the Chromobacter and all the other things that have popped up in the past year. And none of that came on any of the bronch results. So that was great news, because then I could go off all of my IV meds, which means I'm finally done doing IV meds for now. And I've been on them off and on since August. So it's been a really great experience to not have to have my port to access or an IV to maintain. And so that's been a great upside. And that's an upside to transplant too, is getting new lungs. I don't have those CF lungs when I first had my CF lungs taken out. And then with my chronic rejection lungs, if they held on to any particular bacteria, there's a good chance that I won't have that after transplant, because I'll have these new lungs in place. And that happened for me, where they kept an eye on the staph and it wasn't a major issue, and they treated it in the hospital. And now I'm good to go. And breathing gets better each day. And life gets better each day.
Yeah, I'll take we'll take a walk tomorrow, hopefully, and I'll take a little video for walking, because I was impressed when we walked out of the car. That was really the first time I saw her walking when we got back here, and there were no issues. I know she's little. I know she feels a little unbalanced with all the medications and stuff, but you look great. Somebody asked if the kids will stay here at the apartment with us. Yeah, if they come, it'll be for maybe a couple days, and they'll stay here. Somebody will bring them, probably maybe Trisha's parents or my parents. I know Trisha hasn't seen her parents since we left the Outer Banks, so 17, 18 weeks now. And she's only seen the kids twice since then. They came to visit us once, and right before they shut down North Carolina to travel, we drove halfway, and my parents brought them, and we had about 2 or 3 hours to spend with them at a little picnic table.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I went home 3 weekends ago. But it's been since late March, early April. It was right before my birthday. So late March, the last time you saw the kids, and February 16th since she saw her parents. So I know they'll be excited to come, your parents as well, if they can travel. So yeah, the kids will stay here, and we have, we haven't worked out the details yet, but the kids will stay
Amanda
here.
asked how I'm feeling. I'm feeling really good. The first couple of days after transplant, it was a rough go. My breathing wasn't great, and just a lot of things interconnected. And now I feel more like myself. I'm still in pain meds for pain, so that's the only thing that kind of has me off kilter. But other than that, I'm breathing better each day, and I'm feeling like I'm getting back to my daily routine of life. Although today was just an easy day that we hung out and chilled and did nothing, which was beautiful. It's just what I needed to get away from the hospital environment for the past 25 days. Um, but yeah, I've been feeling really good.
Somebody asked, when do you think you'll be coming back to the Outer Banks? The doctors will let us know in a couple weeks when she can start traveling further away from the hospital. So we may come home for a weekend. Of course, it depends on the virus thing. You know, Durham's been a very safe place to be for the most part this whole time. Back home, they just started letting vacationers in from all over the country, really, but especially up and down the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if there's any kind of outbreak there. It may just be safer for us to stay here until we can go home and kind of protect her at the house. Um, so we'll see, but that won't happen permanently until at least the end of June, 1st of July. So what happens now is Trisha has to graduate 23 days of physical therapy. And this, again, is one of the great things that Duke does that not many other transplant centers do. They require you to graduate physical therapy before surgery and then a whole nother round after surgery to make sure that you're as strong as possible. You're steady on your feet to get some good exercising habits. And so that's kind of the only big requirement. And of course, they want to make sure everything heals up. If you could see Trisha's body right now, there's all kinds of cuts and holes and things healing. So they want to make sure everything heals well. This is the first time she's come out without a hole in her neck from a trach.
That's right.
So that was always a thing. They wanted to see that heal up, so we don't have to worry about that this time.
It's just great. It's nice not having to worry about my trach this time. I thought for sure I'd get one with this past surgery, but they didn't need to do it.
Yes, it's very good. I saw another question here somewhere.
Thank you, by the way, if anybody's watching who was a part of the yard sale today back home in the Outer Banks.
Yesterday.
Oh my, yesterday. I really appreciate all that you guys did to put that together, and I heard it was great. My dad went with Hunter, and they told me all about it. So Aunt Donna and the Farahs and the small group that put that together, that means a lot for doing that so much.
Yeah, there's still some fundraising going on for Trisha, which we greatly appreciate. So yeah, she'll start rehab tomorrow.
Wow, Tuesday.
Or Tuesday, sorry. I keep
We're
forgetting
really
tomorrow's a
confused with
holiday.
our days right now. My belly's hurting a little bit.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm looking for.
I want to give a
questions.
shout out to the nurses again, and I know I've posted on Facebook, but one of the things I learned without having my caregiver nearby was without Nate there at all times, kind of taking care of me and distracting me and somebody to talk to. It really forced me, not that I haven't before had conversations with nurses, but it it really allowed me to have that quality time with nurses that I've never had before, where I could really spend time to get to know them and ask them questions and find out why they decided to choose nursing and which school they went to and how they ended up at Duke. And it's just a really amazing group of nurses on 3100, which I feel like that's the entire hospital. But the cardiothoracic unit step down especially, it's a gift, I think, to be a nurse in that department, because it's hard work, and you have a lot of ups and downs. It's a big learning curve, and these nurses really did go above and beyond in so many ways to take care of me and their other patients, and I felt very loved and supported. And without Nate and having the emotional support from him, I felt like these nurses were able to develop a friendship with me that kind of fulfilled that role and need that I had going through the toughest days without him. And so I just want to shout out to the nurses at Duke, especially on 3100. The nurse who went out and got me a bunch of Target clothes because one of my bags of dirty laundry was lost at Duke. So she made an effort to go out and to get some stuff that I lost. And that, like, a simple gesture like that meant so much to me and shows how much these nurses really care about what they do. and who they care for. And it was a really great experience.
Katie asks, why does your breathing get better day to day instead of like immediately after surgery? So it is better immediately after surgery. She on oxygen with labored breathing. A few hours after they started waking her up, she was breathing on room air with no assistance. So there was an immediate difference. But explain why. And then Donna asked a similar question. I can see your breathing is still a bit labored. Is it painful? Are your thoracic muscles not still not back in shape? So those two questions are
Yeah,
related.
so they, my diaphragm and the vagus nerve that they often touch during surgery can affect the way I breathe. And so my lung percent, my FEV1 is 32 right now.
Which where was it before going into surgery? Was 20?
Low 20s.
Yeah.
But like I said, I lost a lot of muscle tone, which can contribute to labored breathing and making it more difficult. And as I gain that muscle tone, as I gain weight, and with like working on my diaphragmatic breathing, that'll help my lungs overall and function. And for me, each transplant, it always took a good couple weeks to several months before I went from where I was post-transplant to my new baseline. And for some people, they might notice an immediate difference and have that baseline within like 2 weeks to 2 months. But for me, it's always taken some time, and I'm okay with that. So it is still a little hard for me to breathe, but it's me kind of relearning how to use my diaphragm and working those muscles that I had been working before. I was using a lot of my upper airway muscles, and now I'm able to use my belly muscles. So it's just my brain has to get used to that. Plus, I get nervous when I'm on the camera, so there's a good chance I'm nervous and it's harder for me to breathe. But yeah, I know for my last lung transplant, it was this time last year, which was 6 years after transplant, that I had my best PFT. So you never know. You never know when that time could come for you. It could be 1 year, it could be 6 years. And my goal is to get there as soon as I can. But take each day at a time.
Here's a question I can answer. How are your other transplant friends doing? Praying especially for Gene. Gene is doing much better. Pam, his wife, told me they've cleaned out his chest cavity 4 times, 4 days in a row. And even after the first time, the doctor said everything looked much better. Infection is decreasing. From what I know, he's been asleep this whole time, which is good. He won't remember anything. He's not in any pain, discomfort. So, but yeah, keep praying for Pam, because she's in the situation I was just in, where you're relying on information from, when you get it, when you can get it, and which was fine when your patient's doing well, but it's really stressful when your patient's not doing well. So Gene's doing well. Our friend Linda got out of the hospital about a week ago, so we're excited about that.
It's been longer than that.
And honestly, those are all the people that we know, because when we got here, when we arrived 3 months ago, we got to know everybody who had already been here and then everybody who came in after us. But once the virus hit and they kind of went to one-on-one physical therapy and kept the caregivers from being able to hang out, we haven't really been able to get to meet too many new people. So I know Trisha has a friend, a young girl who just got her lungs recently, so who's still in the hospital. So yeah, everybody that we know of is doing well. So,
and I think from what I was told when I left Duke, there was only 3 more people waiting to be listed to be transplanted. So they kind of go through
it goes in
ups
waves.
and downs. And right now, after these 3, It might be a little lull before they have another group of people waiting for transplant. And I know COVID probably has a lot to do with that. A lot of people didn't want to move here right away during this COVID crisis and decided that they could wait a little longer before they moved to the area. And I understand that. So yeah, I'll have to find out who these 3 people are this week, and I'll definitely ask you all to be praying for them.
So yeah, hopefully we'll meet some new people when she goes back to, or at least she will. I won't, but she'll probably meet some new people when she goes back to PT in a couple days, and get to see some of our old friends who got their transplants before her. So, but yeah, we try to keep up with the people that we've met. We still have people that we were here with during her first transplant, caregivers and patients who I'm friends with on Facebook that we stay in touch with. So that's all been good over the years. Any other questions?
I might assume because of my belly.
Yeah.
I have a family Zoom meeting at 8, which I'm excited about. My side of the family, we try to have a Zoom meeting once a week, usually over the weekend, and it's a highlight for me. But my belly's bothering me, so I'm going to have to go in just a little bit. But yeah, any questions, feel free to shoot our way. I'm always happy to answer questions, and if we don't do it live, I can do it in another medium, whether I'm writing it out on Facebook or what have you. But thank you all so much for your prayers and your support for our family and all that we've been through. And I know like the quick recovery time that I had, which was kind of unheard of, was a result of your prayers and God getting me through that. To me, that was pretty miraculous. I didn't expect to skip the ICU at all, except I expected to be in the ICU for quite some time. So that was a huge answer to prayer. And I'm just excited for what the future holds.
Do you want to go? I'll talk for a few more minutes.
I do. Bye. Oh, my.
Can you roll that?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought of something a minute ago. So yeah, the riskiest part of this journey is over in a sense. There's still a lot that could happen. If you are familiar with Trisha's first transplant, everything was going well, and then she was diagnosed with cancer about 2 months. It was almost exactly 2 months after her transplant. She'd been home from the hospital at our hotel at that point for about a month, and they found a spot on her lungs. So and that's just one. That was kind of that is not a real common thing, but it happened. So she's not recovered. She's still recovering. There's a lot of things that could happen. So you can continue praying. But the hardest, most risky part, where, seeing if the lungs will work the way they should, seeing if the body will try to reject them immediately, all the open wounds that could become infected, being in the hospital, which there's more germs in the hospital than anywhere else. So that's actually the worst place to be, just as far as catching something. All that's behind her. She got the lungs, which that was, that's always in question. So there's still a lot to go. And like she was saying, there's a good chance that we won't see the big benefits of all this for 6, 12 months or even more. Hopefully in 6 months from her transplant, she's going to be feeling great and better than she has even from the first 2 transplants. With the first 2 transplants, the goal is always to hit 100%. So to be breathing as well as you could possibly breathe, which, let's just say I can breathe at 100%. I never had any issues with my lungs. I'm a relatively healthy person. The goal is for her to breathe like I am. but with her first true transplant, she just never got that full capacity, that just ability to do that. But it was a lot better than going into surgery. So there were huge benefits. And so the goal is to get to 100%. No way to know if that'll happen or not, but we certainly hope so. But that could happen in 6 months, or like she said, she hit her best breathing numbers from her second transplant just a year ago, which was six years post-transplant. So still a lot to go. She's not going to be happy going to physical therapy the first week or two, especially. She's still on a pain med, an oral pain med that we give her every 6 hours that she has to have, because she'll tell me, it's starting to hurt. Things are still healing up. They just pulled the last 2 chest tubes. So, I mean, she literally has 2 holes in her chest. You can, if you wanted to, you could look and see her insides. They're just now starting to heal. So if you've ever been on any kind of pain med, it messes with your brain. It makes you dizzy. It affects your vision. It affects your balance. So then, until she can really get off that pain med, she's going to be frustrated. It also affects your gut. I think that's why she's having issues with stomach problems and not having an appetite and not being able to tolerate much food. So once she gets off that pain med, that'll really clear a lot of things up. The rest of the meds she's on, for the most part, she's been on for the past 12 years. So some of them are higher dose than she's normally on, because coming out of transplant, they really juice you up. But we know she can tolerate pretty much everything else. So it's that pain med that's kind of the next big goal. Is a place you're staying specifically for transplant recipients and their caregivers? No. In fact, I would not want to stay at a place that was where we were surrounded by other transplant patients, because they can easily transmit germs and stuff to each other. You don't want to, which I'm not saying is a stupid question. It's a good question. But you don't want to put a whole bunch of immunosuppressed people in one room together, or even in one hotel or apartment. So I'm sure there are other Duke patients in this apartment building. It's pretty big. But no, we're required. They do have a Ronald McDonald House, but that's mostly for short term. A lot of times it's for parents of kids, families. But that's really the only housing that Duke has that they provide. So yeah, and that's when you've heard us a few times talk about fundraising. Her insurance, and then the fundraising is helping us to be able to live in a decent place, and for her to be comfortable, coming back here. We're thankful for that. Let me see if there's any more questions here. I'll have to look on here because my phone went to sleep. As I said before, hopefully we'll go home around the 1st of July for good. That's the goal, if everything goes well. She had a good night's sleep last night. She's on a lot of steroids. She's on all that. You basically have 2 groups of medications, and they both either counteract each other or bump heads with each other. So, for example, she's on steroids that hype her up, and then she's on this pain med that makes her drowsy and kind of loopy. And so when you put those 2 together, fun and interesting things can happen. So, which I'm not going to embarrass her, but she slept well last night. I was awake for about 3 hours. I had to get up in the middle of the night and do something for her. I can't remember. And then I couldn't get back to sleep, but that's what I'm used to that. The past month I've slept like a baby, and my batteries are fully charged now. So that's good. So, Did I sleep at all the night before Trisha came home? That was my best night of sleep. No joke. I slept for 8 hours, which is a lot for me. 2 nights ago. We've done this before. I was excited, but I wasn't up all night with excitement. I mean, it's we've done this before, and we take one day at a time. So yeah, I slept really good, and then not so good last night. How long daily is rehab? It's about an hour to 2. It depends on Trisha. What she can do, how long she wants to push through some of the pain and discomfort to accomplish the goals they're giving her, and they'll push her hard. The rehab facility belongs to Duke, so this is all under one team. So it's not like she's going somewhere where these people don't know how to handle transplant patients. They are in direct contact with the surgeons and doctors and pulmonologists and it's all one team. So they'll push her. And I mean, any of us would probably need to be pushed to some degree, because she's going to wake up one morning this week and tell me I don't want to go to physical therapy, and I'll check her temperature and make sure she's okay, and I'll say, tough luck, I'm taking you. So it's pretty rare where she says I don't want to go, and we don't end up going. She pushes through it, and with the help of others. So was there a friend that had a transplant the day after Trisha? There was a friend, Danny, who had his transplant the same day as Trisha. He's been out of the hospital. He only got one lung, so his recovery was very quick. And in fact, he got to see his family, grandkids and stuff, I think, this week. He's been out of the hospital for a while now, so he's doing really well. So yeah. I felt like Elvis on those 2 drugs together. Yeah, it's not steroids and pain meds, are not a good combination. Thankfully, the doctors always talk about, addiction and dependence, and our goal is to get off those meds. And Trisha's fairly pain tolerant. So even actually just at 3:00, I gave her last pain med dose. And I said, do you want to take the full dose or you want to cut back a little? And so she said, I'll cut back by 5 milligrams. And she did. And hopefully, we'll continue to taper off that. So, but yeah, you got to be careful with those. The steroids she's on are serious. If you just gave the steroids that she's taking to somebody cold turkey, they would be wired. I mean, they would be bouncing off the walls and be ready to charge the gates of hell type of thing. So it's always interesting to see how all that works together. All right, last call for questions. I've been on for about 40 minutes, which I don't mind as always, but I know people come on and watch this later, and I don't want to bore them to death. But I'm glad Trisha was feeling good enough to get on. I know that's good for people to see, and really one of our big goals with this is always others who come after us, to encourage them, to say, look, Trisha's just been through this. You may have to go through this. We have a friend back home who has a lung disease recently diagnosed, who may be looking at transplant at some point in the future. And so we are always thinking about encourage people to come after us. So it's good, I think, for people to see Trisha, and she does look amazing compared to the first 2 transplants. She is doing incredibly well, again, because she was so strong and relatively healthy going in to surgery. So it's very cool to see. I was impressed with how well she walked, even just from our car to the front door. And if you watch the video, when we walked in and she plopped down on the ground with Mecca, it was like she hadn't had surgery a month ago. So yeah, the month alone, I've been telling a couple friends, and I was telling Trisha yesterday, she said, what'd you do the whole time I was in the hospital? And I said, honestly, I did whatever I wanted to, which means I played music and talked with the kids and hung out with the dog. And that, I mean, that's what I do for fun. But I told her, I said, that's the first time, at least since we've been married, and definitely longer than that, that I've had any extended period of time, I mean, more than a day or two, where I've been able to do whatever I want, whenever I want. I literally had almost no obligations. So that was really good for me, because I've talked before about being a caregiver can be draining, and it doesn't matter who your patient is. And Trisha's a good patient, but being a caregiver can be draining, and I'm really bad at taking care of myself, of doing things for myself, of taking time for myself. So that was, I mean, this past 3.5 weeks, it was hard to be away from her. There were a couple things that came up where I was like, I really wish I was there, because I could help. My presence there would have been helpful in that situation. And certainly she wanted, I mean, there was a good week, that second week post-surgery, where she was begging me, can you please find a way to get here? Just to be there with her and rub her back and hold her hand and distract her. So that was, difficult, but I slept well. I ate healthy. I exercised every day. I took time for myself, and I haven't felt this, my batteries have not been this charged in a long, long time, which is good, because now, I mean, you guys know, with everything going on around us, I don't know when I get home. I've got a job waiting for me, the job that I've worked the past 2 summers. But if this virus is still around, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take that on. The kids will be out of school, and so we'll want to spend a lot of time with them as we're able. And of course, they'll come live with us as soon as we get home. So it's good. It's good that I'm charged up right now, because we kind of know what to expect the next 6 weeks or so while we're still here and in rehab. But after that, it's a very different scenario from the last 2 times we came home. So we don't know what to expect. So it's good that I'm feeling good, and I can pour all my time and patience into taking care of Trisha now. So I'm thankful for that. It's difficult. I think it made it a lot easier that we've done this before. I know there's some caregivers right now, their patients are in the hospital and they're really, really struggling. The caregivers are, and I can understand that. But if, you've got to find the good when things get difficult. I'm not always good with that, but I think I did a good job this time. So, and Trisha's cousin, Brian, he's really the only person I've hung out with, except for the one weekend I went home. I've isolated myself from everybody other than that. And he's been a good friend, taking walks with me a couple times a week, and eating a couple meals with me and just hanging out. He built a bookshelf, which I haven't, if you know me, I'm a part-time woodworker in the wintertime, especially, and I haven't built anything in a long time now. So he invited me over to help him cut some stuff, and that was fun. So, yeah, it's been a good rest for me. And now Trisha can rest and I can serve her, which I'm excited about. That's what I'm good at. And that's what 99% of the time I enjoy, especially when I feel this good going into it. So, all right. Trisha's about to get on the phone with her family in the next room in a few minutes, so I don't want to go past then. Thank you guys. As she was talking, I was reading other comments from friends and strangers. telling me how good looking I am and all that. No, I'm just kidding about your prayers for us, encouragement, how good Trisha's looking. So we are so grateful for that. So thank you so much. Thank you very, very much for that. I'll kind of hopefully get back into the routine we were at before surgery, where maybe I'll update you from the parking lot of physical therapy a couple times a week. And I was impressed with Trisha being willing to stay on camera for so long and talk. And she told you she gets a little nervous, and she did a great job. So hopefully she'll be willing to get on and update a little bit. And yeah, hopefully we get back to life as normal eventually, and everybody can be thankful about taking this journey with us, and we can get back to our lives, and hopefully everybody out there is getting back to their lives soon with the virus stuff going on. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I've been looking forward to this update for a long time, with Trisha out of the hospital and sitting beside me. So I'm thankful we could do that. And thank you for your continued prayers and your encouragement. And Trisha's going to need lots of encouragement the next couple weeks to go to physical therapy and to work hard. And she always does a great job, but it's definitely helpful to have a big team behind you cheering. So we look forward to her getting that from everybody there. So thank you. All right. You guys have a good night. Stay safe. And please wear your masks when you go out.